Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. This is your host, Keely Austin. Today is June 23rd. It's Takeoff Tuesday. We've got 56 participants on the line, 57, and make sure that you reach out to your team. We don't want any ICMs left behind. So Bill Predebon is someone who we are very fortunate to get to learn from because he has had so much success over the last 10 years with Renatus, a lot of success, a lot of experience. And he has been very successful on both the marketing side and the real estate side of our business. When I met Bill, he was very active in the company. He was a leader at our Scottsdale team. So he does presentations regularly, and he's also helping run a team in Pittsburgh. Some of Bill's background: before Renatus, he was a pro skier for 10 years in Vail, Colorado, and he realized he really was not qualified to do much else and that he needed to kind of look into some other business opportunities. He ended up buying some stores, owning a franchise, and due to lack of knowledge, that ended up costing him the business, and he lost that business. In 2007, he did hear about real estate investing. However, he didn't find Renatus yet, so he attempted real estate investing on his own. And that's right before the crash. So actually when the crash happened, he ended up being upside down in over $400,000. After that is when he found Renatus, and he made 8 times more in his first year than he did the previous year, both as a loan officer and a realtor. So ever since then, I mentioned Bill has been very active in Renatus, and so currently he's completed over 150 real estate transactions. Bill has become a part of the PIT team. He's on the PIT, which is the President's Advisory Council in training. He has grossed multiple 7 figures in real estate and is a marketing leader. So we're very fortunate to get to learn from you this morning. Bill, good morning. How are you?
What's up, Keely?
Hi there.
Hi. Thanks again for hosting, as always. Good for you getting up every morning and knocking this out of the park and putting this together for everybody and kind of coordinating and organizing and making that happen for everybody. I appreciate it very much. It makes it easy on me because I know what it's like to run these Zoom meetings and coordinate it and get music, and I typically screw it up, and you do not. You got it going on. So I just really appreciate all you do to make it happen for us and to get these calls. I think these calls are awesome. It was awesome yesterday with that poll. And the first one was, I think it was the first question. It's like, why do we get on those calls? And like the dominating answer was to learn something new, right? And that was my answer too. So it's cool. We all get to 4 days a week learn from each other, and including all the participation you guys do yesterday and all you guys do. So that's awesome. So I love it. I love the chats. You guys know. Yeah, the pool was cool. You're exactly right. Pool was cool. Thanks, Doug. Yep, giving Keely some kudos. All right, so I'll type in my cell phone number, 760-533-3141. And yeah, 760-533-3141. So one of the things I was thinking about for today is we're going to spin off a little bit off yesterday, I guess. But you guys know, as always, what are the income requirements for PIT? 75,000 in 1 calendar year. It's not nationals to nationals. It's January to December. And typically that award is given, or that recognition and what's the promotion, if you want to call it that, is given at nationals or occasionally at leadership. What is Keely's email address? I don't know what that is. Good question. So yeah, and then honestly, there's obviously more requirements than just an income goal. They don't just put anybody on the PIT in the pack just based on income. There's a few other things that make sense as well. Good question. All right, so yeah, you guys, if you've got questions, type them in the chat. And if you were come off mute, and I kind of want to, or it's not really about what I want, but I was thinking about Like the other day I was watching, I don't know, you guys ever watch, what is it, Millionaire Listing? $1 million listing? I don't know, $1 million listing or millionaire listing? I never watched it before, but I was watching a couple episodes the other day, and like those guys turned some nice profits, man. I don't know. I think it was more like in the mid 2000s, like 2013, 14, 15. We were going up pretty good. But commissions on multi-million dollar houses are pretty nice commissions. So anyway, I was watching that, and I was thinking about like the one guy. The one guy is the grandson of a famous designer, Mrs. Flagg. What was her name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. You guys probably know this because you've watched it. But um, and I looked her up, and she's like worth $100 million. She just passed in like 2014 or 15 or something like that. And but these guys drive some pretty fancy cars. Like they have a Phantom Rolls. They definitely have one has a Ferrari, one has a Lambo. They have multiple cars, and they dress nice, and it's just interesting. That's part of my what's the word I'm looking for, you guys? My drive, if you will. So anyway, I was walking my dogs this morning, and I saw another guy. So there's this house that's around the corner from my house that this architect flipper guy. He's probably done like one or two a year. He's been flipping in the Arcadia area for like, I met him. His name's Frank, and he's an architect that quit architecture, and then he designs his own little flips. He remodels houses, and he does them kind of big projects, and does them once or twice a year, like I said, and does them pretty elaborately. And then his husband is a loan officer, and so I'm not sure if they put their own. It's the way I didn't get a lot of information makes it sound like they put a lot of their own money into the deal, and then they sell them. So this one house was around the corner, and I watched it go up over the last year, and it was the coolest design. It's like a horseshoe. It's like a U shape, and all three interior walls that face each other in the U, if you can imagine a U. So like there's three wings basically, right? There's the entrance wing, and then there's the right wing and the left wing of the house, all part of the U, right? If you can imagine a U or a horseshoe, right? But it's not rounded, it's square. And in the middle is the atrium, is like the backyard. So they built the house around the backyard in the middle, and then there's sliders that open up. It should be in California, but there's sliders that open up on all three sides towards a big grand opening in the middle. And then there's a little bit of a backyard as well. And so anyway, it was my favorite house. And the guy ended up getting like 4 offers on the property. It fell out of contract like 3 times. And it's a gorgeous house, but it sold pretty quickly for $1.35 million. I didn't check what he bought it for. I'm guessing he bought the lot with the house on it for about 500,000-ish, 550 maybe, and scraped it, and then built this house. He does a lot of the work himself as well, and he's got some pretty good crews. It was nice. Anyway, this guy bought it. This guy's name is Lee that bought the house. I met him the other day, and I was talking to him, and he had a pretty nice BMW, and I didn't really ask him what he did yet. I haven't talked to him again, and I didn't ask him what he does for a living. But today I was walking, and there's a brand new R8 which is an Audi R8. It's like a $150,000 car in his driveway, and I was like, wow, okay. So I don't know what he does, but the whole point to this is this. The question is why, right? And I don't know if you've read the book called Start With Why. You guys know that I don't read very well. So that book for me was not too hard to read. I've read it and I've watched it, or listened to it rather. But it's a good book. I like that book. And I really am not, we don't need to get into like what our why is. I'm not a big why fan. Like, oh, you got to have this burning desire why in your stomach, to drive you every day and all of that. But at the same time, like sometimes I think that we lose sight of why. So we were talking yesterday about the poll, and one of the questions, you guys remember if you were on yesterday, and it was like, hey, why, what would be the reason you wouldn't go to the meeting, the virtual meeting? And there was, I don't remember all the answers, and Keely might remember some of them, but like one of them was like, I had something else to do, dinner. I didn't have any guests. I'm tired of getting on the Zooms. And there might've been one other answer, right? And so that question, why, comes up, right? And so for me, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why would I not get on the Zoom, right? Not why wouldn't I, but why would I not get on Zoom? Like for me, the why part of it is, that's why I answered, I'm tired of getting on Zoom, right? Like for me, that would be the only reason. Like if I just flat out said to myself one night, you know what, I just don't feel like it, right? That would be the only reason. Like I'm not going to schedule anything else. We don't schedule things when we have to work. So if any of you have a W-2 job or any type of business that you're running, it's a store you have to open, whatever it is that you have that is really non-negotiable time, like you physically cannot change your schedule for that, whether it's kids or some weekly meeting you have to go to. You don't schedule anything else during that time. You don't plan dinner at the same time you have to work. You don't plan lunch at the same time you have to work, or whatever the case is, right? And then, if you let's just say didn't get your homework done, or you didn't get your project done for work, or you just didn't feel good, and that might not be a good example, but let's just say you didn't, that's a good example, I guess just didn't get your project done, or you didn't finish your homework assignment. There's not like homework for work, but and you don't just not show up at work the next day because you're not prepared, or you didn't finish something, or you have nothing to do the next day. You're like, I got everything done yesterday, I'm not going to go to work today, right? It doesn't work that way. So just because you don't have a guest, why would you not show up to your business? Do you know what I mean? So I guess what I want us to kind of imagine is, I want us to discuss the word why a little bit on different levels. Okay. The other answer was because you attended another meeting. Oh yeah. So, I mean, that makes sense. If you're on another meeting, or you're like Steve Nomura was hosting another meeting of his own, so he's not on the other people's meetings. That obviously makes sense. One of my mentors said to me about meetings, if you had a bad day, you need the meeting. If you had a great day, then the meeting needs you. Yeah, I think Bob Snyder says that too. You know what I mean? If you've got guests, and exactly. I mean, I don't have to reiterate what you just said. That's James. That's perfect. There's no question. You guys probably have heard me say this. Some of you are newer, and maybe back. I guess I've been doing this for almost 2 years now. Back when I started, and I was in the same position as a lot of people, and I there was no virtual meetings. Obviously, we just had a Thursday night meeting. We didn't do a follow-up. We didn't really do property tours. In fact, I think in 2009 or 10, 2009 maybe, I started the first property tour that I know of. We called it a real estate drive-by tour. It didn't go over very well, but I think I mentioned that. I might have even said that last week. It sounds familiar, but
Did.
yeah, Monday night was the founders webinar at 8:00, and it was online. It was on a call. There was no Zoom, and so you've heard me say this. Every week on Monday night, I'd listen to that call for an hour, and part of my personality is that when I would hear the success stories, and when they were, especially when it would be the time of year where people were ramping up for the sales contest, and they kept telling people where they where they were at the end of the year. You know, it was always, you know, the top 10 guys or girls that were in the running. And I just remember that I just always wanted to be there, right? That was part of the reason why I would get on that call, is it would motivate me, it would inspire me and piss me off, right? And then of course, Tuesday would happen, you know, Monday was crappy, right? Because my life was just crap financially. And then Tuesday and Wednesday would happen, and Thursday would come along, and Thursday would just be crap. And you know, I'd be broke and trying to get a real estate deal done and not making any money, and it was just miserable, right? And then I'd go to Thursday night, and then there would be people doing testimony and people doing the presentation, and Travis Hoover and these guys up in front of the room, and they'd talk about their successes and they'd share stories and things. And I was like, it hit home. And a lot of times I didn't have guests, but it propelled me, right? It was a positive influence. It was a positive atmosphere. It was something I wasn't accustomed to the rest of the week, right? So absolutely, the meetings are very powerful. And I don't blame you guys. It's boring every Thursday night on Zoom sometimes when you don't have a guest or whatever the case is. Or you've seen the same, you know, I totally get it. Like, it's not wrong or right, rather, what you're feeling and now the question just becomes, you know, what's the purpose of being there? Why are you there? Like, what is it you want to get out of it? Why, right? Let's see, I'm going to check this chat. Oh, how committed are you? Yeah, absolutely. So like, one of the questions I pose to you would be, why not? Like, why wouldn't you go? Well, that's not the right word. Forget that. I can't remember what I was just going to say. All right. So let's think about this. I'm going to share some stuff with you. It was interesting because I was thinking about this the other day. Some of you have heard this. The first real estate deal that I did, I was 23. And I put $10,000 down that I'd gotten from my grandmother, and I could pretty much do whatever I wanted with the money. I was going to pay off credit cards. And I won't tell the whole story, you guys, but it's interesting because I was thinking about this. And like, that deal, I don't know the exact number, but it's pretty close. That deal I ended up backing out of, right? So I went under contract with a 5-year owner finance deal at 23 years old on my first house. It was ideal. Like, it was ideal. I was going to own my own house in 1993, a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-story at the base of Beaver Creek, Colorado, for 10 grand out of pocket. Like, ridiculous. I look back, and I went under contract. If I look back, I don't even know what a contract was. I went strictly on the guy who was the agent that worked for the investor that was selling it on an owner financing. And then I got cold feet based on some advice I took, and I quit. I quit the contract. I asked to back out and get my money back. And that property ended up, due to some extenuating circumstances with Vail and Beaver Creek getting the 1999 World Championship ski championships. It's like a 2.5 week, you know, downhill competition. It's essentially, you know, the biggest event of the year, World Championships every year, similar to the Olympics, right? So a couple of million people come into town for a couple of weeks, off and on, and see this event. And that house sold for like nearly $1 million more than I would have gotten it for 6 years earlier, right? So sweet, Kevin, it's awesome. So there's real estate deal number one, right? No experience, no training, no understanding. and I blow it. Then you fast forward, I'm 34. 11 years later, I'm living in California, San Diego. Never bought my first house yet. I live in, I have 4 Play It Again sports stores, and things are financially good. Like I'm doing well financially, very debt free, good credit. Business is running. We're doing $2.5 million a year in sales. Bought out my partners, and I started looking for a house. Right, the real estate market in 03 and 04 in California was going crazy, like it did in Utah, Arizona, Florida, a little bit later, 05 and 06. And so I was trying to buy a house, and there weren't smartphones yet and all that stuff. So we had to actually go see the house, and then we'd get back to the office and fax in an offer. And my offers were getting outbid, as you guys are familiar with. And finally, I get this. I mean, literally, I was so frustrated for like 4 or 5 months. I couldn't get a house. I couldn't afford anything. I don't even know why. So it's interesting because I'm going to make a point here in a minute for why Renatus and why you want to do marketing, right? But what's interesting is I look back now, what I know, right? I've done, Keely said, almost 150 deals. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I don't even know why I was looking for a $400,000 house, right, at the time. I think it's because I decided, based on no knowledge whatsoever, what I wanted to pay for as far as each month, right? That was it. So, like, follow me on this. There's no advice from anybody. The agent is going to listen to what I want, right? But I could have qualified for anything because I was a self-employed business owner. I had great tax returns, right? We had a great business, and I could have paid for a bigger house. I had no debt. There was no thought process into trying to buy this house, right? So I end up settling for this property, right, up in San Marcos, and it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, first floor, old, never been remodeled, 1982 condo. It was a cute little condo, 800 square feet. I paid $320,000. And I had, this is at the height of the market, end of 04. And I had bought my first, real estate program, I think. And I just was listening to part of it. And, it said that you could ask for all closing costs. So in my offer, I asked for all closing costs. Well, yeah, these people took it because I bought the condo at the height of it. Was a piece of crap. What's worse is I then went and got a loan officer, right? And I got this loan officer to get me a loan based on someone that referred me to him. And it was this guy who was in my store. He's like, oh, my buddy's a loan officer. And, he's an older gentleman at the time, older than I was. And, I thought he was looking out for me. I didn't know any better. I literally did not know what to ask him, right? So I told him, hey, I don't want to put anything down. I want to do 100% fine. He's like, no problem, And I got a loan, and if you guys remember, the first mortgage was like 6.25, and the second mortgage was like 8.25. Don't quote me on that, but it was somewhere in that range, right? So I'm borrowing 20% as a down payment on $320,000. So that's like a $65,000 second mortgage at 8% interest plus, right? With a 15-year penalty payment, right? Balloon, and a 2-year prepayment penalty on both loans, which I had no idea what that was. And obviously, anytime that stuff gets sold through a loan officer, the loan officer gets a spiff. They're going to get more fees because it's just a really crappy thing to have in your loan. And so I ended up with this terrible loan, and I had really good credit, and I had no debt. I mean, I could have easily gotten a paper loan, no question. And I got a crap paper loan. And fast forward a year later, I'm upside down in that property, about 100 and it was almost 200,000, about $180,000 upside down. The market's crashing. I decided to move to Arizona. I'm losing my business. And my payment was like $2,200 a month, principal, interest, taxes, insurance for the 2 loans and everything. And I'm renting it out for $1,000 a month. So I'm living in Arizona and I'm paying $1,200 a month to keep the mortgage up. And finally, I just couldn't do it. As you guys know, in 2007, I'm making no money. So by 2006, I'm told by my attorney I should bankrupt the bank, go file bankruptcy for one personally, and then include this property, and I foreclose on this property, right? So here's my first 2 real estate deals. Then a year later, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You guys have heard this story. And I go ahead and I decide that I'm going to work with my girlfriend. And because I'm a loan officer and I'm getting into real estate, I'm going to figure this thing out. I read a couple books. You know, I've got some self-help or some self-learning tapes on real estate investing. And it's the boom market. Again, I had no idea about a real estate market. I didn't know markets could go up or down. I honestly didn't, you guys. At 30, now I'm 36. And so everybody's buying houses. Everybody's making money in Arizona in real estate. So I'm like, we got to go buy this closeout house on this builder spec home and all this stuff. So we convinced my wife, my girlfriend, to get another 100% loan, 80-20, buy this house. We'll sell it in 2 years. We'll negatively cash flow her property that she already owned. And you guys know that and Keely just mentioned it, within that house, we paid $490,000. We had 3 mortgages, including the pool, which I was able to finagle a 3rd mortgage on 100% fine. I think I put $2,000 down on the pool. So we're into the thing for $490,000. And by the time 2008 hit, they were short selling in our neighborhood for about $190,000, $300,000, right? So folks, 3 deals, and I am just a disaster. Like, look at those real estate deals that I just did. They're just a disaster. Like, I should have run for the hills and gotten out of real estate altogether for the rest of my life. But what I realized is that real estate is the one thing that I had the best shot at, right? So we're going to go back to why, right? I did not want to work for anybody the rest of my life. I didn't at the time want to be strapped for money ever again. I didn't want to be in a financial bind ever again. I didn't want to not have the finer things in life. I desired something different, and I desired to be not necessarily successful, just financially flexible. And we do this at the meeting, but we just glaze over this slide all the time. But when you think about it, the majority of us, right, we are not $1 million listers, right? We're not agents in New York or LA or Seattle. And we didn't grow up with a fashion designer as our grandmother and mentor who is worth $100 million. We're not a star athlete. We are not in politics where we have a lifelong history of politics in our family, where we're lawyers and doctors, and we are, making $5 or $6 or $8 or $1 million a year in some sort of high-end profession, a CEO, for example, of major corporations. So without those things, the majority of us are stuck with the 99%. And so if we want and desire something, right, we have to spend money on education. We have to put ourselves through some sort of school so that we could potentially go to get a bigger, higher paying job. Okay? Or we get specialized knowledge, whether it's stock trading or real estate. The reason real estate, right, is because it is the largest chart on the pie, right? It's the largest piece of the pie where the majority of wealthy hold and make their money. If we're throwing darts, we know that we can hit that piece of the pie, piece of the chart, piece of the dartboard a lot easier than anything else. It seems to be the lowest hanging fruit, if you will. It seems to be our greatest shot at financial freedom, financial flexibility, right? And so we believe in it. We also believe that we can do it without money and credit of our own. That if we have the knowledge and we have the training perhaps, and we have the desire and we put in the effort, that eventually we can get it done. Now, with all of that said, that is why I continued to do real estate, that I did not give up. Because if I did, my choice was to go back to work for somebody, to potentially go live with my buddy back in Colorado, to, fall back and rely on my parents, whatever it was, right? I was going to have to, my degree in college is useless. I don't even know what kind of job I would have gotten with it. So there weren't a lot of choices, right? This is why real estate, right? So we go back to that why. Now, where am I going with this? Let's see, I'm going to check this. I have to, that's fine. Touch an agreement with you, Bill. Perfect. So where I'm going with this is this. The feeling that I have and had at the time when I started with Renatus, when I kept looking for something to do, when I saw this information, as you guys know, I didn't have any money. The market was pretty much crashing. As you guys know, it was the end of 2007, first of 2008. Banks were closing up and all that kind of stuff. And so I didn't have access to funding. And so I ended up having to get an angel investor to help me get started. Fortunately, I had one. Fortunately, I had a big desire. I didn't have anybody, teach me the funding options, right? We didn't have a funding follow-up. We didn't have 10 different ways to fund. We didn't have billing. We didn't have all those things. You just figured it out on your own if you wanted to get this education. My mentor was not, or my affiliate, if you want to call him that, was not calling me saying, hey, have you thought about, this or that or the other thing, right? So I had to figure out where to get the money myself. But it was because of the why. It was because, why did I want to do that? Well, what choice did I have? And I say this to students, to clients all the time, and I'm going to make a point here in a minute. Like, if I didn't do this, then what was my other choice? Like, what was I going to do, right? Like, if we don't do this, if we don't make this work, if we don't show up on Thursday night, what is the choice? Like, do we continue down the same path? Do we stay in the financial position that we're in? Do we, if we don't study the education, if we don't, build our network, like if you're focusing on real estate, and you're doing the marketing because you're on these calls, so it makes sense to you a little bit. But, if we're focusing on real estate and we want to do some more real estate, but we also need to build our network and we need to invite people, or we need to get on some trainings and things like that, then if we're not doing that, then what else are we going to do? What are our options, right? What is going to create the why that we're doing things, right? So when we think of all of this, right, and you go back to the story I just told about my first 3 real estate deals are just absolutely ridiculous. Over a 10-year span trying to do real estate, where I gave up for a while after that first deal, and then I try to get in my own house, right? That is why the essentials is so critical for people buying their first house together. Maybe it's a husband and wife or a new couple or a single individual, right? They have no idea where they're getting their advice from. And most likely their realtor is a referral from a family or something like that, or a friend, right? And that person, most agents, as you guys know, honestly, you guys, most agents are not very good. Most agents don't do very many transactions, if any at all, right? And so how can they protect the interest of that individual, right? You know, honestly, we should go call the agents that have the billboards all over, because they have the money to do, they're obviously making money to advertise. We should not go with a discount agent, but we do. We should not go with a referral from a loan officer. We should go with someone who's qualified to get us the loan and understand. But the problem is, when we don't know things, how do we know what to ask, right? So the point to this is this. All of what I've experienced and told you about is the same thing that most likely some of you have experienced, if not all of you, but more importantly, all the people you're going to be talking to. We have a hard time believing that everybody needs Renatus, that you know, it's their loss if they don't get Renatus, right? That it truly is the best opportunity in the country, right? And so, because we just haven't experienced it all yet, right? But I know for a fact, from experience, on both ends of the spectrum, that the majority of people who get started with us, the majority of people who even see this, they know they need it. When they see it, they understand what they're missing. It's just that they don't, it's hard to see past the finance, right? So we have to create that value. I'm going to get into that in a second, but all right, I'm just checking this. All right. So what I'm saying is, the majority of people that we come in contact with, that we're inviting to see this information, they have the same experience. They have the same lack of knowledge. They have the same issues that we have, even on such a small level as buying their own primary residence, right? Or their own first rental property, right? When we look at the options for people, right? And people want to create wealth, and they want to buy more than one rental property. The way that the traditional way to buy property, you typically need at least 10% down for non-owner occupied. You also need decent credit. You are going to have some reserves, right? And then the property is going to have equity. So the only way for the property typically to have equity is that you're going to have to put a bigger down payment on it, because they're not going to give you a 90 or 95% or even 100% loan to value like they would on your primary residence. So some people will save for a while, and then they'll have just enough money to buy their first rental. But then they have to save again. That's the tradition. So it's a long process, right? And so with Renatus, the way the wealthy people work is you guys know this, is we leverage other people's everything, as you know, other people's money and relationships and all of those things. And we use our knowledge to be able to buy multiple properties creatively, whether we're an equity partner or some sort of owner financing or some sort of creative financing or a combination of thereof, or we partner with people, or we borrow the down payment from somebody and not our own down payment, and then we refinance it out later, or we partner with that down payment. And so if people don't learn that, they will not be able to experience what there's no other choice. Their why they're doing it will get lost. It won't get met, right? And so we have the opportunity to share that information. All right, I'm going to double check these chats. All right. Oh, what does your shirt say? Oh, yeah. Cool, Doug. It's from, gosh, I think this is like 3 years ago at Leaders Retreat. All right. So, all right, we're almost at the end of the time. I love talking about this stuff. All right. So here's what we got. Let's wrap this all up in a lesson, I guess. You have to forgive me today. I have a little bit lack of energy. I think I may have the virus or whatever. I have been feeling like crap for like a week. And like literally right now, I'm just like, I feel like I'm sweating sitting here. But so my thoughts are a little bit scattered more than they normally are. You guys, I apologize. And I I didn't sleep very well. I think I got up at like 4 and could not go back to sleep last night. So, so here's what we think. I started off by talking about $1 million listing and this house down the street and stuff like that. And I guess what I'd ask of you is take a little bit of time today and think about why you're doing this, right? Like the opportunity now with the compensation plan is pretty powerful. Whether you're 5-star qualified or not, you have a great opportunity, even if you're 0-star qualified, to start making money right away. And when you get to 5-star qualified, you can generate a significant amount of money on a regular basis. And you know, on a weekly, monthly, and ongoing basis for 10 years that I've been in real estate investing, cash flow is something that is very key. People forget cash flow, all right? If you have a job or a business, whatever it is, and you know, we're talking about the majority of people, right? There's not a lot of reserves. There's just enough reserves for certain things, possibly for people that are comfortable. And then there is, you know, you're working every month and then we're getting enough money to pay the bills and stuff like that. And there might be a little extra, but typically there's not. And typically it gets used for something. And so we have this desire to do real estate. And it's important that you study your classes and you do, and gosh, please study your classes before you jump into a bunch of real estate. But in my experiences, and to this day, to this week, to this month, to this year, people I see in real estate, I was just having a conversation with an investor buddy of mine who's got another investor that's in trouble. Cash flow is king. And Renatus created the opportunity to enroll students in a $1 billion plus industry, which is real estate investing education. And they will pay you for that handsomely. And I know you guys know this, but that extra work of inviting students, if you could go and look at your why today, and not your why, like why you want to do this, right? And what it would get you if you make an extra 10 grand, if you enroll a couple students, you know, when they join your team and then they make a few sales and you get to help them, right? This small business that you can have on the side, where you're working it on a regular basis. And every, 60 or 90 days, you make $10,000, right? And, that's $3,000 to $5,000 a month, right? Extra. When you're doing real estate and you need an earnest deposit, or you need to cover some rents, or you need to pay for some damages to a property, or you need to take advantage of a deal where you need $5,000 or $10,000 down to secure this owner finance deal, that's a steal, right? Then you have the cash flow. When you run into problems or situations owning property or in the middle of a flip and you run short on funds, which you will run short. You will underestimate repairs. You will overestimate how fast you can get it done. And you will have more carrying costs or more repair costs and things like that. And you will run out of money from what you borrowed or what you anticipated putting in. this business will enable you to sustain through tough times. When a deal is on your lap and you want to close it in 3 months and it takes 6, the marketing will float you during that time. And it's a consistent business. I guess at the end of the day, when I think about anything that I am doing, and it's a Thursday night and the meetings are coming up, it's a Monday night and there's a training call, it's Wednesday morning and I'm not feeling good and there's a 7 a.m. training call. When any of those things happen, I think about what it is I'm trying to accomplish, like where I want to go and what I want to feel when I've accomplished what I've got, right? And it's not like a why, like I said, like you can have your why, you can have your family or your children and all that. That's fine. You can go deeper and bigger than what I'm talking about here. But I'm just talking about like why would you not go to Thursday night? Why would you not study your class? Why would you not invite somebody that within a week could say yes and change your life and their life, right? Why would you not do it, right? So continue to think about that word, why, like why you want to do this. And if you're not able to answer the why and it's not popping in your head, then maybe that's why you're not doing what it is that it takes to make this happen. Michael said that yesterday. Why are some of us making money and some of us not? And it has something to do with that commitment, but it just has to do. I mean, there's a lot of things combined, and many of you are new, and there's a learning curve and all that. I'm not dismissing any of that. I'm just saying that if we are able to come up with an excuse and then we think of that why, if we came up with an excuse why not to watch the class today or listen to a class or go to the meeting, and then we instantly just counterbalance that thought with why we're doing this in the first place. Once we do it, it's not that bad, right? So if we can keep the why right here, like why we're doing it, and these excuses are easily, these natural human excuses of, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get to it. Like I've done it. Last week I was at every meeting, whatever it is. I don't have any guests. I get it. Like that's totally fine. Or I'll text somebody later. I'll call somebody tomorrow. Oh, I just don't want to make these calls. And then every time there's that excuse, if we think of that why, then we can counterbalance it. And then it might just be the thing that will move us to do what it is that we wanted to do in the first place, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, Troy Dunn does say that. So that's good. I love these comments, you guys. So yeah, what's your why not? All right. So I got 7:58. I hope that made sense. I was kind of all over the place, you guys. Not my best training. I'm a little bit off sorts today. But I wish I could have made a point better. The opportunity, I think, is that, like, I would agree with that. If you can think of why not, if you can think of just what other options are there, like what is your choice? Like the opportunity to make $100,000 a year, the opportunity to make to own multiple properties and make $100,000 a year in marketing, the opportunity to fix and flip one deal a year and make an extra 20 to 40 grand. Like that puts you in a different category of living, right? And then it'll compound. It'll get bigger and better over time. So just continue to remember why you're doing this and then do it more, like Michael said. All right, you guys. Aspirin and lots of water. Yeah, I will, you guys. I'll feel better. I've been drinking a ton of water, actually. I think I'm all right. I mean, I'm not like I don't know. I mean, I just don't feel 100% at any given time, but it's kind of frustrating because I was supposed to be on our way to California yesterday or today, and I don't want to. We're just trying to figure out when we're going to go here so we can do this training. I was supposed to do this training from my freaking living room in my townhouse in Solana Beach, but no, I'm here. But hopefully we'll go by Thursday, and then next week I'll be doing this training from my Solana Beach house for sure. I don't care if I'm feeling better or not. All right, you guys, you got my number. Thank you, Leslie. Thanks, you guys. Awesome, Amy. I appreciate that. That's good news. I'm glad it was of value. Sorry about that, you guys, if it wasn't my best here. I know, my vision board, right? It's pretty cool. We got some things happening. You're very welcome, Sandy. Awesome, guys. I'm going to put my phone number in there, 760-533-3141. Cool. I just placed another Epix combo order yesterday and funded it. So one of my team members actually was watching his education at work, and the guy was really interested in what he was watching. And this guy enrolled in he didn't fully fund yet. He's going to pay off the billing because he's waiting on his 401k, which will probably come in today. So then he's just going to pay off the billing. But within a week, was fully committed. The right people, you guys I think I talked about it last week, but there's nothing cooler than just talking to the right person. So sometimes it takes 10 or 20 people, that we have to get through to get to the one person that's just like me and you, which is ready to go and will do whatever it takes to make it happen. So that's the people you want to work with. All right. Thanks, you guys. Ada, you're very welcome, you guys. Ada, awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. Make it a great day. Make it a great Tuesday. And I will see you guys tomorrow on Dane's call, and I'll see you guys next week from sunny Southern California. And you guys are awesome. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate everybody's commitment to this and everybody's participation. And I just love that you guys love allowing me to train. It's just an honor and a pleasure. Cool. Thanks, you guys. I'll end the meeting. Have a great day. Make it a great Tuesday. Talk to you soon.